Hi, I'm Mark Bunker from Xenu TV. I'm going to show you some of the most bizarre footage that I shot while I was living in Clearwater, Florida. This footage was shot in July of 2000. And I moved there to Clearwater, which is Scientology's mecca, to work for the Lisa McPherson Trust. This was a group set up by Bob Minton and Stacy Brooks to help those who had been abused or defrauded by Scientology. And Bob bought a building right next door to Scientology's Office of Special Affairs. Now, this is the department in Scientology that does all the dirty tricks, that investigates the crimes of critics of Scientology, and does what they can to stop them. Well, Bob said, "Nah, we're not afraid of you. We're going to come right on your doorstep." And it was a very exciting time. We opened the doors it was the first week of January in 2000. By the end of 2001, we had been chased out of town on the rails. Scientology did everything they could to stop us, and that included a lot of court cases. We were constantly being deposed. I spent a lot of my time preparing video for different court hearings. It was insane. Well, that's what Scientology does, though. They try to wear you down any way they can, and using the court system is one of the most effective ways, because they managed to drain Bob of a lot of the money that he set aside to fight Scientology. Now, Bob Minton, who just recently died, was my hero, is my hero, and will always be my hero. He spent about $10 million fighting Scientology out of his own pocket. And beyond that, he was a really decent, caring guy who wanted to help people who had been abused by this group. When Bob and Stacy asked me to join them at the Lisa McPherson Trust, well, I didn't hesitate for a moment. I jumped right in there, and it was a fascinating period. The footage you're going to see on this disc is from July of 2000, and it's when the Lisa McPherson Trust invited a German government official to come and visit Clearwater for the first time. Ursula Caberta is in charge of the task force on Scientology in Hamburg. And in Germany, Scientology is not considered a religion, it's considered a cult or an extremist political movement. And in the German Constitution after World War II, it was put into the Constitution that these extremist political movements can't exist. They can't allow anything like the Nazi Party to rise again. So, there's great care taken to ensure that this doesn't happen. And Ursula is in charge of monitoring Scientology's behaviors there. One of the things that happened in July of 2000 that brought Ursula over is we discovered that a woman who was right next door to the LMT, we had OSA on one side, and we had this woman on the other side. I believe her name was Angie Victor. She was running a used car or a car rental business right next door to us. And Der Spiegel magazine published these letters and an expose about Angie that showed that she had gotten political asylum in the U.S. with false documents that were produced by Scientology. Now, one of the things that Scientology says about Germany is if you are a Scientologist, no one will hire you. You can't get work. So Angie Victor was the first Scientologist to get political asylum in the U.S. by saying she couldn't get employed. And she turned over these letters to the U.S. government from 3 different businesses saying, "We'd love to hire you, but you're a Scientologist, and therefore we're not allowed to hire you, so screw you." And it turns out that these letters were written by Scientologists at Scientologist businesses. So they were mocking up these denials of work permit. And they were nice enough to write these letters in English. It's a German business in Germany to a German woman who was applying for a job, supposedly. But to make sure that the U.S. government was able to read it, they very politely wrote them in English to her. So, you know, these documents were then provided to the U.S., and they granted this woman political asylum. Well, Ursula came over and we did a little press conference on that. And Ursula's arrival set off such a firestorm from Scientology. You're going to see the main video on this disc is the Mad Picket. And it really starts out reasonable. I mean, it's just like 4 or 5 people, including Bob Minton and Grady Ward and Jerry Armstrong, who's another hero in the Scientology, anti-Scientology movement. They're having a peaceful little protest in front of the Fort Harrison Hotel, and everything's fine. There's nothing going on. It's just some people protesting. But then an army of Scientologists appear, led by Mary DeMoss, and they create a scene on the street, and they're very actively trying to get Bob, to provoke Bob, to get him to lash out and, you know, strike back at them so they can have him arrested. It's amazing to see the lengths that they go to, and the police arrive on the scene, and the police do nothing really to stop it. And what's frustrating is the videos of this picket were shown to a judge in Clearwater, Judge Pennick, who ultimately put together an injunction keeping members of the LMT away from Scientologists and vice versa. And we were supposed to stay 10 feet away from all Scientologists, and all Scientologists were supposed to stay 20 feet away from us. However, you know, not all Scientologists were served. You know, it was primarily against us. But Judge Pennick would look at these videos and blame us for the scene that was created, when, you know, all we're doing is peacefully walking back and forth, and the Scientologists are being insane. And in fact, they were so insane, when we came back to the LMT from this, Jeff Jacobson, who was the librarian at the Lisa McPherson Trust, he was looking at the footage with me, and he said, well, this is just mad. This is mad. And that's why we dubbed it the Mad Picket. So you're going to see the raw footage of that on this DVD. You can watch the whole thing. I didn't edit anything out because there's exchanges here and there that are priceless, and I wanted you to see them. But also you can switch over to the commentary track, and I talk a little bit about some of the background of living in Clearwater and dealing with this, and some of the people that you would encounter on the DVD. So, you know, I hope you enjoy that commentary. I also put in a little video from Mary DeMoss of her bull baiting me outside the Lisa McPherson Trust. And again, she's talking about Ursula Caberta being in town. She's very upset. This German government official is here. She's saying nasty, horrible things about the German people, while there's another German Scientologist right at her side there. I don't know. I guess the German Scientologist wasn't offended. I guess. I don't know. But I put some commentary on that as well. I love seeing Mary DeMoss. I hope you do too. She's always very passionate on video. But it all started out at the airport. And I want to show you a little footage from that right now. Here's the chairman of the board of the Lisa McPherson Trust, Robert S. Minton, and Stacy Brooks.
The guy over there with the ponytail is our PI.
We also brought along our attorney, John Merritt. But we're not the only ones waiting for Ursula. There's a vast selection of other people there at the airport, all Scientologists. They've all been brought together by one man, Al Butner, Scientology's PR representative from Toronto, who was brought down to Clearwater, Florida, to deal with the trouble created by the Lisa McPherson Trust moving to town. And when Ursula's plane arrived, we knew there'd be some sort of trouble, but never imagined the scene that was about to erupt.
Nazi criminal, go back to Germany! Nazi criminal, go back to Germany!
You're not welcome! This lady is a criminal!
Go back to Germany!
We don't want you here. We like freedom of religion. Hi! We like freedom of religion. You are bad!
Come on, Mark, let us go.
How are you? What's the matter? Huh? Play a little bit crazy?
Thank you, officer.
Ursula had been on the plane for, I don't know, 14 hours from Germany? I don't know, something like that. Long, grueling flight. It took another hour for us to get from the airport to the hotel. It's after midnight. We get there to the hotel. Her room had been canceled.
Here they come. Here they come.
Scientology, who knew what flight she was coming in on, they also knew where she was staying.
Hey, Mark.
And they had canceled her room. The entire hotel was booked up. There wasn't a room available. And Ursula was not terribly happy about this. Bob and Stacy owned another room for her at another hotel, and we got her there, and we got her, situated.
I won't have anybody. I just don't like her being here.
For your safety, please stand clear.
Yeah, I know, unfortunately.
You wouldn't like it to be a free country?
Absolutely. I just wanted to know what she's doing here. May I talk to her? No. Okay.
Ursula also got sued by Scientology. They forced her into deposition and were grilling her about her work in Germany. Ursula did not have an easy trip in Clearwater. What you're seeing on the tape here is like the tip of the iceberg of the insanity.
Absolut unnötig.
Nazi.
Anyway,
Nazi
Sie werden
with
sicher
a,
bereit,
with a
hier
money
gewesen zu
launderer.
550 copy.
You okay?
23
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh my
I didn't realize it was going to be that bad.
Neither did I.
Thanks so much for taking a look. There's so much more to see on my website, Xenu TV, and I hope to see you there soon. Bye.